good. Hello, guys. Well, thank you firstly to the guys for inviting me and letting me speak here. So this is just a kind of quick, what are you going to get from this? What am I going to go through? So first thing is just a really, really quick kind of who am I? Bit of background, so you know how I kind of got here. Some confessions or kind of, insights. I think confessions just made it sound, a bit more dramatic. And hopefully some kind of takeaways as well at the end that you can actually, take away and kind of use in your kind of day-to-day jobs. I'm hoping it's going to be kind of useful for, kind of designers, developers, and anyone who's kind of interested in UX. So we'll just get started. So as Nathan said there, my name's Simon Clark, so I'm Optimisation Manager. So that generally just means, anything to do with kind of optimization, conversion rate optimization, which I would say are kind of, essentially the same thing. And I'm part of Dentsu Data Labs, which was formerly iProspect over in Newcastle. And they're just some Twitter and Medium handlers. So this is just a really quick kind of about myself. So I own a cat. I've got a wife. Eloquently put it there, created 2 kids. Because of that, I know lots of dinosaur names. And essentially, I'm a front-end developer, kind of UX, weird kind of hybrid thing. But we'll get onto that in a bit more detail. So again, just I thought it was quite nice just to see how I got here, and then we'll kind of go through the more optimization-based things. So at an early age, I actually wanted to be more of a graphic designer. That was what I kind of really started out wanting to do. That was kind of looking up to my brother who was a graphic designer himself. I instead decided I wanted to design cars, which, the link's there somewhere from graphic design. So I went and did a foundation course, and then I did 4 years at university. When you kind of come out of that and you realize, actually, is this what I really want to do for my kind of day-to-day job? Which it wasn't. So flipped, from being this kind of wanting to do graphic design, I flipped kind of full circle into development. So, kind of, I've just put there that there wasn't any CSS, style sheets at the time, showing my age there, but, kind of self-taught. And then obviously the job that I got, really helped me learn HTML, CSS. I was essentially a PHP developer at that point. Got my first job as a developer, and I worked there for nearly 10 years. And in those kind of last, 2 or 3 years, started to become really passionate about digital marketing. So I was kind of, almost split between digital marketing and development, which again is a very kind of weird thing to do. But, I was doing kind of, I started to get involved more in analytics. I was doing, kind of SEO, PPC, kind of everything at once, as well as that kind of development. And that kind of led me to a complete change in career, which was, just by chance. Took a bit of a leap. And I guess that kind of sets us up nicely to my kind of first year to year and a half in CRO, in optimization. So that's kind of a good kind of how I got here, which kind of sets it up nicely. So this section is all about the confessions. Like I say, kind of confessions, maybe insights into what optimization is, how we can use it as designers and developers, and how really we should all be kind of thinking about these things. So the first one is that I didn't necessarily really know what CRO was, which, I probably shouldn't say that, but that was that. So now I've kind of done that, kind of year and a half. I'd like to think that I know a lot more about that. So essentially CRO, for anyone who doesn't necessarily know, so essentially it's, to really simplify it, it's the practice of increasing the percentage of a visitor on your site taking the desired action, and importantly, without increasing the amount of web visitors. So we'll come more into that. We'll go more into that into a few slides. So what are we trying to achieve? So there's lots of things really. I mean, the main thing is obviously, clients, they want more leads, they want more sales. Essentially, that's why they're paying us money. But kind of as you go, you get a lot more things out of optimization as a whole. So we can learn about customer behavior. We can improve marketing effectiveness. So, you're spending a lot of money on your PPC or your paid social. We can then make that work a lot harder. We limit, kind of poor website decisions. We can kind of A/B test them. Again, we'll come onto this in a bit more detail. And also new website decisions as well. So we can kind of help guide website decisions, where we're going to go, what we're going to do, what we're going to do differently. So again, where does optimization or CRO fit in? So essentially you've got, your main marketing channels, digital marketing, which, are there to kind of drive traffic to a specific website. We kind of come in, obviously once the user reaches the website, that's kind of our realm. That's where we do all of our work. Once that user's on the site. And essentially we're trying to, create a better user experience, but also increase performance and ROI, etc. So essentially, I've just kind of put this on. Just I see us as kind of the the middle men and women. We kind of work. We're kind of paid by the client to make them more profitable, reduce the risks. But actually, we're kind of working for the user as well. So we are obviously, with the work we're doing, trying to save them time. We want to improve the trust. We do things with accessibility. And also just at the bottom, kind of listen to their thoughts. What are they thinking at the time they're on that site? We can kind of get that. Again, we'll go into more detail. So the second one, and this is a very personal thing. I'm not kind of saying this is anyone else, but I personally kind of think I didn't really consider the user in my early years, kind of building up my knowledge as a developer. Reasons for that, I had kind of tight deadlines. I was really trying to kind of closely match the code that I was writing to the design that I'd been given. I kind of thought, well, someone's already thought about these things. I don't need to kind of think about them and at that kind of design phase. As developers, we're kind of busy battling, code and bugs and things, and we kind of haven't got time, to think about these people who are actually coming to the site. And I was just kind of generally, learning how to code, learning the language itself. So, again, I'm kind of not going to be too fussed about the user at that stage. And just kind of going back to the early years, so in those kind of last few years in my job, digital marketing, as I was doing that, it made me think a lot more about the user themselves. So who's coming onto the site, what are they doing? You're looking at pages, you're looking at, time on site, things like that. What are they buying? How much are they buying? Things like that. And you're kind of ultimately thinking about who those users are. The third one, I think optimizers are or can be a user's best friend. Yes, is the answer to that. I hope. That's me and a user just having a good time. So why do I think that? So essentially, these are the kind of things that optimizers do. So we're going to reduce the site speed. We're going to increase usability. We're going to try and simplify that, kind of getting from A to B. we use a lot of kind of best practice tools and methods on site and apply them to sites. We ask questions, and again, you know, kind of we're there to kind of improve the accessibility. Again, this might be a bit dramatic, but we can sometimes be seen as, you know, being a bit creepy. So, you know, we watch recordings. Again, we'll come on to that in a bit more detail. We watch recordings of users, well, you guys as well. We can kind of segment people, you know, kind of bucket them in the same kind of lists. You know, persuasion techniques, personalization, which is, you know, using a lot of data about yourselves and using that for something on the website. And we can add, you know, elements to a page. So, yes, I mean, essentially, you know, in this slide, I'm just kind of saying that, you know, we're there to kind of fix the site speed, which will give you a better on-site experience. Our aim is to, you know, kind of increase the usability, which will reduce those pain points. So where are people struggling? We'll try and figure that out. And that all comes from a lot of, you know, asking how the user feels and getting real kind of honest answers from those users. And I've just started the kind of the top two, you know, kind of developers will obviously work towards, you know, reducing site speed, and designers, you know, possibly UX, possibly developers can also kind of come under that increased usability as well. So this one, again, I'm not totally sure what you guys know about optimization, but I know there are a lot of kind of stereotypes and, you know, what people think about CRO and optimization. But I think, you know, the kind of stereotypical thing is, you know, we'll change, you know, the button color of a CTA or a button on the basket or next, you know, like a checkout or something like that. So I think that's very kind of, you know, stereotypical, is that we'll just kind of change the color of a button. Again, for anyone who doesn't, you know, necessarily know what kind of A/B testing is, essentially you'll have a control, which is the site as is. You'll create a test, whatever that is. In this example, it's, you know, changing the color of that banner, and you test them together to see which one wins. That's really a very simple example. Yeah, and just kind of going into a bit more detail about that, more than just A/B testing. So this is kind of based around our team at the moment. So, you know, you kind of think a lot about the tech team and building the A/B test or using a specific tool to do that. But actually, you know, everything comes from the strategy people. So everything will kind of filter down from them. We also have, you know, kind of user research teams. So they're, as it says, doing the user research, however that is. The design team, so we have a small design team now. Again, this was just relatively new. After I started, we got a designer, because essentially we were doing, you know, the designs ourselves, which really we needed someone kind of professional doing that. And also an insight team, so those guys just do looking into numbers and figures and data, and they kind of give us our priorities and what we should be doing and prioritizing. So you can see there, really, I mean, if you were to ask me, you know, before I started this job, I would say you've got the tech team, you know, they build the test, you know, someone might have thought about what to do, but it's a really, you know, kind of complex thing where the strategists, it all kind of feeds down. Again, I mean, these are just a few other things that we can do as optimizers. So I touched upon, you know, kind of the user research team. So they could just focus on a specific element. They could focus on a specific page or pages, and using tools, you know, really research those specific sections just to get some kind of insight out of that. Opportunity models are essentially what the data insight team would create. So they're essentially using data, large amounts of data, to determine the key areas of a website to prioritize. So we don't necessarily just go, we'll pick that page, we'll do a test on that page. There's so much kind of, insight, thinking that goes into prioritizing tests. Form evaluation, which is, kind of using benchmarks of current forms, best practices. We'll use that. And obviously, a competitor analysis, which I think we all probably do at some point. We use that across a lot of the kind of methods that we use. And, kind of last one, personalization. We've probably all seen these, or you might not have, or you might not have thought about it. But essentially that is, kind of delivering really personal, individualized messages, products to either current or, kind of existing or new customers. So some examples there, of the big boys doing that. So, Amazon, that is actually my wish list. Don't kind of judge me. They weren't for me, by the way. And that's just Spotify as well. So everyone who has Spotify will know about kind of Discover Weekly. So all of these things, there's tons of data behind these things. Essentially, they're trying to make you do more of what they want you to do. They want you to listen to these artists. They want you to kind of, buy these things that you've thought about at one point buying. And again, that is something that, kind of optimization can deliver. I won't go through all of these, but these are just, some things that I just kind of spat out and put onto this slide. So, some of the bigger ones are kind of, full page redesigns. We do them. Split URL tests. So I've done tests where a client had a new site. They wanted to test that before they actually, kind of migrated over. So we can, send 50% off to that new site. The dreaded, pop-up exit intent, which actually perform, really well. Social proof, testimonials like, this person's bought this product or this person's viewed this 10 times in the last hour or whatever. Those things really work. Navigation, all these other things. So I won't go through all of them, but just to kind of show you that, we do more than those kind of A/B tests. So this slide, we're happy if a test loses. So, maybe not happy. But we're probably, one of the only teams that can, lose a few things or kind of get a few things wrong and not necessarily get sacked again, probably a bit dramatic, but, get in trouble. But actually losing, tests, normally only last, depending on traffic levels, kind of 4 to 6 weeks. So, it's not the end of it is a lot of time, but it's not the end. It's not like a whole year in build or something like that. But it really helps us learn and also kind of move in, new directions. So that's just a really simple, we could have 3 tests running on a website. Test Y, kind of loses. It's been running for, 4 weeks. You can then, kind of delve deeper into that. Why did it lose? What was the data telling you? Do a couple of surveys or something, on that specific page or element. And actually what you might get out of that is 2 other tests based on that data, based on your findings. So you might have found out that they didn't necessarily like that specific style or color. So you would create another test that does something different. So, a loser is never kind of the end of the world, essentially. This one, yeah, so going back to the kind of the creepy thing. So I never necessarily knew that I was being watched on a website. Again, this is for your benefit, so be thankful. But, you'll probably know your analytics, your Google and your Adobe. I don't know if anyone knows Hotjar and Session Cam, but essentially these are once installed onto a site, they will essentially, kind of be watching users. And specifically Hotjar and SessionCam will create recordings of users, generate heat maps of movement, scroll, and clicks and things like that. I use this, which is quite good actually. It's called Ghostery, and essentially on a website, it's a Chrome extension. Essentially, it'll just tell you everything that's kind of installed on that site. So you'll generally get your kind of, you'll get your analytics. So you can see here, Hotjar is currently running on that site. So that's an example of a heat map. So essentially, it's just showing you on that specific page where people have clicked. So that's really good information. If you're, potentially wanting to know which of these is the most popular, generally you can get that information from a heat map. You can also do move, which kind of shows you the kind of main areas that are being scrolled, and also scroll, which will just show you how far down a page the user gets. This is a recording, so this is what a recording would look like. So this is what we would generally watch. And essentially, again, you've got a specific section of a site. You just want to actually watch a user go through that, navigate that page, see if they get something's broken, or if something's not working as you would like. But we have access, once installed, we have access to thousands essentially of session recordings. So that's really just kind of just confirming, we don't, kind of weirdly just sit there, watching people. We'll look for trends. We'll kind of check for anomalies with a test, with the development, the build of a test. You can research a new test that you're going to do or think about doing. And with both of those, actually, you can create polls and surveys. You get the little kind of feedback thing on the right, one of the sides of the website. That will generally be one of those. But those feedback is what I was on about earlier about, asking users questions and getting, real good feedback. Yeah, I mean, users are fickle. I think we all are. But I think, instead of just kind of saying, well, just design how we design, we can kind of help them out. Essentially, it's just, saying we'll change our minds, without good reason. So what can designers and developers do to stop that? So I really think, kind of starting with the user sounds, really obvious, but if you start with the user, kind of everything around that process, thought process will just kind of fall into place. Kind of linked to that, making the journey as simple as possible. So as I said earlier in the presentation, from A to B, kind of map that out. What's the easiest way to do that? Again, I've been through that, site speed becoming more important, certainly on mobile. So just really get that kind of nailed. If you can, kind of make use of these research tools, wireframe things out before you do, your kind of full design. Prototypes. So I know you can, with your designs, I know I've seen Danielle do it before, where you can, using your designs, kind of without actually building it, kind of navigate through pages with the designs. So all of that is, stopping you getting to that build process where you spend a lot of the time. And just things like 5-second tests. So, you might have 2 pages, 5-second test it. What does this page, say to you? And you can really get some good information from that. Yeah, so again, just put there, the more work you can do before the build, that's really good. But also actually just, once that website has gone live or once it's been built, I think we'll get quite precious about the site and we're like, oh, it's fine, nothing's wrong, just leave it. But actually, if you sort those issues out really soon after that new site goes live or that migration goes live. It's a lot better in the long run. This one, I just kind of put in, you can actually get paid to test websites. Just a little caveat there, I'm not kind of promoting these guys. So these guys, you can go onto those websites, sign up, they'll send you kind of things to watch, and you will actually kind of get paid from those guys. I just thought that was quite interesting. And kind of, again, linked to one of the earlier slides, there are so many ways to get into optimization. So again, I kind of touched upon that. So, me as a front-end developer, you can get into that kind of tech or dev side. Data insight guys are normally very analytical, data science related. UX design, so, definitely web designers, probably graphic designers as well, or all-out kind of UX designers. And the strategy side of things, so, managers, project leads would be really good for those roles. And the user research, kind of really any of those, but obviously, kind of good research skills. So these are the kind of, I think the main takeaways, based on all of those thinkings, all of those insights, what can I kind of give to you to take away? So the first one, so if possible, I know this isn't possible for everyone, but even if you can use, a small amount of reliable data, and certainly your clients, kind of main KPIs, really what do they want to achieve? That's the first thing we'll always ask a new client. We might think it's this thing, but actually it's this thing. So just to really cement that, and that's going to inform all of your decisions going forward. And like I say, just a small amount of, if you can get analytics data, if you can get any insight that they might have done a research piece that was like 100 pages long, get access to that. And it'll really help with those kind of early stage decisions and also design. The second one, so I think sometimes we get caught up in, what are they doing? What are our competitors doing? And I think, I personally, I think we need to be, we need to do our own thing, be a bit more individual. I think that makes you stand out a bit more. I haven't got it on there, but I don't know if anyone's seen the Money Supermarket website, which I think was only, redesigned a month ago or so, or a few weeks ago. And the first time I went on it, I was just kind of blown away because it was so, A, different to what it was, and B, so different to all the competitors. The Go compare the markets, all those guys. So it really made it stand out. And really just get those basics right. I keep hammering home the site speed. Responsiveness, again, very important, and that helps with your site speed. Ease of navigation, so, getting around the site, that's going back to that usability, so getting from A to B. And if you can, some kind of best practices for forms. Generally, if a site's, got forms on, that's one of the kind of the main KPIs for that client. So that's really important. And once you've got those foundations set, you can then begin to really think about improvements. Research, how's the site doing? How can you improve that? And see what works for others. Again, I've probably mentioned this, but, really spend time at the start of that project, mapping out that user journey. So it's going back to the usability, how the user's getting from A to B. And that will really not only inform your design decisions, but also your development decisions going forward. The link's not actually come up, but I can't remember what that was now. I think it was Nielsen had like a cheat sheet for user mapping. But just ask me or tweet me after this if you want it. And the last one, again, really important, put yourself in the user's shoes when designing and developing. I'm this kind of weird hybrid, so I'm constantly, as well as, thinking about the development, I'm also thinking about, the UX side of things. And, again, really importantly, I think a website will be much better optimized. You'll have less mistakes, you'll have less things to do once it goes live or it's migrated if that design and development team kind of work as close as possible. So instead of being, kind of the designer does this, gets sent over to the developer, and they're very, kind of separated. I think if they're working together, it really works. And also just kind of, question every detail that goes in there, thinking about those users. So that's the last one. So thank you very much. And yeah, that's it.